If ever there was proof of visitation by ancient astronauts, one of the best and most convincing pieces of evidence would have to be the epic Nuremberg space battle of April 4th, 1561, especially since almost all retellings of the story mainly focus on the picture and a loose summary of the events that occurred that day, with an emphasis on UFO battles and crashed ships. And good luck finding anything else besides that. Just about everywhere you read it, the story goes like so. Residents woke up early one April morning and saw the spectacle portrayed in the woodcut, which clearly looks like the final space battle from Return of the Jedi, complete with X-Wings, explosions, and Darth Vader's Star Destroyer. Making this even more convincing is that some of the objects are said to have fought for a while, and some crashed, as seen in the lower right-hand corner. Orbs and crosses fighting, tubes and a giant arrow, crashing ships. Has to be a space battle. While it is tempting to dismiss the whole event as a hoax, and some have, or poo-poo it away as a mass hallucination due to ergotism, there are a few facts that make that very hard to do. Mainly the fact that Hans Wolf Glasser, the artist who did this woodcut, was a real person who really did do woodcuts. And this woodcut is actually from the time and place that it says it is, and is depicting a real event that witnesses saw. For all intents and purposes, it seems like a legitimate case. There are links in the description where you can read all about it, with the help of Google Translator or Babelfish, and also for this place here. You can also see a pretty comprehensive gallery of Hans Glasser's work here. I encourage people to understand the genre of the 16th century woodcut or broadsheet, which was the early predecessor of today's newspaper. Actually, it is more accurate to say they were the predecessors of today's Inquirer, because they contained the news of the weird or violent, and they had no problem stretching the truth to sell a few copies, and nearly a quarter of them are astronomical phenomena like auroras, which are interpreted as signs from God, which I'm sure made them sell more copies. Unfortunately, despite being very convincing proof of aliens at first glance, and after a superficial perusal of the facts, which is all I and many ever do, seemingly confirming a space oddity, the most likely explanation is rather mundane. The best possible explanation for the Nuremberg 1561 UFO battle is merely several atmospheric phenomena, most notably a sundog or parhelion, which kicked the whole thing off. Sundogs are weird looking enough to make it seem that something really odd is going on in the sky. But a sundog is basically Earth's atmosphere or ice in the upper parts of the sky acting as a prism or reflective device and making the light from the sun or moon do wacky and sometimes zany things. And Nuremberg had perfect conditions for this to occur. Sundogs and the phenomenon that often occurs with them were also seen with religious significance back in olden times. In fact, one of the first sundog sightings we know of was depicted in a famous painting called Vatersolstebland, and it was interpreted as an omen of God's forthcoming revenge on King Gustav Vasa for his having introduced Protestantism during the 1520s. Very often these woodcuts, some of which are obviously depicting sundogs, are interpreted as messages from God, often because of the crosses in the middle of the sun. God is said to be telling them to do all kinds of things. In fact, the Nuremberg woodcut was interpreted as meaning that they should go to war with the Turks. Here is a sundog interpreted with religious significance in a woodcut because of the cross in the middle. Looking at the description of the event, modern pictures, videos, and other old depictions of similar events, you'll soon see that a sundog really is a more plausible explanation than the Galactic Empire paying a visit, So what I will do is go point by point through the translated description of these events on the woodcut itself. And at the end, we will supply a translation of the text and also in the description below. It starts off with, first, the sun showed and was seen with two blood-colored, half-round strokes, like the diminishing moon, right through the sun, and in the sun, above, under, and on both sides, stood blood-colored and partly bluish or iron-colored, also black-colored, round orbs. Here is a photo of a sundog, with a halo and a red orb. If there's one red orb, perhaps in other events there could be more than one. And depending how light refracts, remember sundogs are like prisms, there could be multiple colors depending upon how light refracts through the clouds. It goes on to say, the same on both sides and in circle plates around the sun. There were such blood-colored, and the orbs in great numbers, standing 3 in a row, sometimes 4 in a quadruple, also a lot as singles. And between such orbs a lot of blood-colored crosses have been seen. And between such crosses and orbs were blood-colored strips, thick behind, and to the front a bit smoother than. Circled plates may be referring to halos, so it seems there's halos and multiple orbs in groups and separate. Here's one sun halo that looks vaguely plate-like with links to other sun halos. Here we have a halo with multiple orbs. Some of the orbs take on a little bit of a cross-like shape with a light flaring that may or may not be due to lens issues. Most of the orbs on film are the usual sun-colored kind, but recall that the Nuremberg event was between about 4 and 5 a.m., when the clouds and sun could have been a reddish and orange, perhaps lending to other colors not seen in pictures or video. The orbs are connected via rod-shaped light beams. Tube or rod-like shapes that are actually part of a reflective arc. Some of these shapes are obvious in the woodcut. You can see that these rods and such can be found in the pictures in various ways, connecting orbs or as part of halos. A sun, halo, 2 half orbs, rod shapes, etc. Note the dramatic addition of a hand and a plant. Demonstrating artistic license is being taken in some of the art depicting these events, suggesting that Glosser's depiction may not be exactly what witnesses saw. This altogether began to fight. The orbs first in the sun moved towards the ones standing at both sides, so the ones which were outside moved together with the orbs out of the small and large tubes into the sun. Also the tubes moved toward each other, like the orbs and everything fought and battled with each other nearly 1 hour. And after the battle, which moved for a while into and again out of the sun, from one side to the other most violently, exhausted itself by each other. The shapes fought, but we're not given much detail about what this fight consisted of. Were there lasers, light flashes, or did the objects just chase and run into each other? The woodcut does not say. This alleged fighting can possibly be explained by this video describing how different shapes are achieved, seemingly based on where the sun is in the sky. Note that the multiple suns, sundogs, appear at the beginning, then give way to other aspects like tubes, just like was explained in the woodcut. The fighting could be as simple as one shape moving slightly and changing shape as the sun moves, and appearing to push other shapes out of the way, Also, the shapes in the woodcut are shown all jumbled together and randomly strewn about, though nothing in the narrative says this was the case. Glasser was not a witness, so he would have no clue whether things were all jumbled, as depicted, or more uniform and geometric, as what happens in nature. With most of the shapes in the Nuremberg 1561 battle explained as natural, there are still a couple of things unexplained: the large black spear and the alleged crash. First, the crash. Everything fell from the sun and the sky down to the earth like burning altogether and vanished down on the earth gradually in a big smoke. Something that sets this sighting apart from many others is the fact there was a crash. Or was there? The most obvious question here is, if there was a crash, where is the wreckage? Where are the bodies? Why does the woodcut or any other source not mention finding anything where these things supposedly crashed? One possible explanation for this seeming smoky fall to the ground and disappearance could be as simple as what's known as fall streaks. Fall streaks often accompany cirrus clouds and are made up of ice crystals, the same ice crystals that cause sundogs. Because wouldn't you know it, cirrus clouds are one of the chief ingredients in the creation of a sundog. Many cirrus clouds produce hair-like filaments, similar to the virga produced in liquid water clouds, called fall streaks, and they are made of heavier ice crystals that fall from the clouds. The sizes and shapes of fall streaks are determined by the wind shear. After such events, something like a black spear, the shaft from sunrise and the head toward sundawn, has been seen with big thickness and length. This could be a number of things associated with sunrises, sets, and or fall streaks. It could be referring to crepuscular ray, or a shadow caused by the fall streak. So, at the end of the day, it's easy to see that the Nuremberg 1561 event was not a battle between alien spaceships, but rather a series of weather events given greater significance than they deserved due to an unreasonably superstitious atmosphere, a sensationalist biased media, and a consumer public hungry for outrageous stories.